Hi, Miss Baker, Miss Alexander, can you guys hear me? Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, okay. We'll get started in a few minutes. I'm trying to find the agenda again, Miss Baker. I know you sent the agenda, the team agenda.
Go to that last email that you sent out. It's like right above it.
Uh, agenda. Okay.
It was on that same thread.
Uh, okay. Hold on. I just have so many emails, so I'm like, I just. Uh, no, this is the wrong. Oh yeah, here it is. Here it is. Here. Perfect. Okay. Okay. How you doing, Mr. Norvell? Oh.
I'm doing great. Trying to figure out my camera,
Uh,
and I'll be
Well,
good.
I'm here in my office. My camera, I put in a work order. My camera it doesn't come on. But I'm trying to figure out how to share the screen here. Hold on 1 second. Let's see how to do this. You able to see the PowerPoint?
Yes, I can see it.
Yep.
You don't see the PowerPoint anymore, do you?
No, I see your Zoom page.
Yeah. Okay, where's the PowerPoint? What's that? What happened here? Um, here's the PowerPoint. You see the, you see the PowerPoint, right?
Yes, we see the PowerPoint.
No, I'm trying to figure out on these screens how I can navigate the PowerPoint to make sure that you continue to. Oh, I think I figured out how to do it. Okay, got to move to another screen. Yeah. Okay. Okay, looks like we lost Mr. Norville. Let's see here.
Shakir, just to let you know, it's a Verizon outage right now. And
Oh,
I'm just, letting you
oh,
know, Verizon is down. I could not make any phone calls on the way home, so I rushed home and plugged my computer up. So I'm on my Wi-Fi in my
oh.
house,
Are
but
you a Verizon?
that
You're a
may be
Verizon
a
customer? You're a
complication this
Verizon customer
evening. Is
too?
all I'm saying.
Yeah. Are you a
hmm
Verizon customer? Oh wow.
I am. I am. My internet is AT&T, but
Yeah, I'm
Verizon is my
AT&T.
cell phone is Verizon.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to blame that on my camera as well, Verizon.
Yeah. hmm
All technical difficulties now. It's on
hmm
Verizon tonight.
hmm So in the event, Mr. Norville, if any of the other members are say they're having this Verizon experience, what do we what am I supposed to what do you do? Oh, oh, you coming in again? Hold on.
Well, I'm coming in both. I'm going to try my phone. Um, Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem. Because we only have right now two official Go Team members that have been able that are have joined us.
Um, all right. Well, let's see.
Yeah.
Sorry, my phone wouldn't do the video
Oh
either
no,
because of the
you're
and
fine.
stuff. Um, so because it's not an actual meeting,
Okay.
where people can take action, then it
Okay.
doesn't, you don't need a quorum per se, or because we aren't taking any action. You can still have a conversation on your strategic plan and then
Okay.
kind of get feedback from those who aren't here. I mean, it may be repetitive. You're going to feel very repetitive with it, but it may
Okay.
help to get some thoughts down on paper if that would be helpful.
Okay. Okay. So before we get started, so good afternoon, everybody. And to our Go Team, Miss Baker and Miss Scott. It was brought to my attention this afternoon. I wasn't aware that because our meeting agenda that went out and was publicly noticed said that our meeting was labeled as a work session, we can't actually vote on filling a vacancy during this particular meeting today. But that's okay. So what we're going to do is I wanted to share with the Go Team members that I do intend on filling the position that has been vacated by Mr. Torres's departure from APS by Ms. Alexander. And I want to we need to schedule a follow-up meeting. And the follow-up meeting, I was looking at having us coming back together on on the 28th. And at the meeting on the 28th, we have to make sure the agenda is labeled correctly. But at that particular meeting, the goal would be to approve the strategic plan that we're going to talk through today, where you guys can share some feedback, fill the seat that was vacated by Mr. Torres. But we also have to vote on a new chair because Mr. Torres served as the chair previously. So are you both okay with that?
Yes, that's fine.
What about you, Miss Scott? No.
I think she came off mute, but challenges.
No. If you're at your desk computer, check your volume and see if your volume is turned. Sometimes your volume is not turned up. Mm. You able to type in the? Is it okay for them, Mr. Norvell, to type in the chat screen,
Sure.
chat
Yep.
box? You can type in the chat box if we can't hear you while you're working on your sound. That's okay
And
as
then,
well.
and then Dr. Shakir, I think on your Go Team website, you do have the 26th already mentioned as a
Oh, we do?
date. So
Okay,
you just
okay,
want to make
okay,
sure it's the
okay. The
same.
20, no, well then we can keep the 26th. I didn't know if that date was mentioned. So if we have the 26th, when we come back on the 26th, my apologies, we will then go ahead and approve this, discuss to approve the strategic plan, fill the vacant seat, and also vote on our new chair, who will serve on the Go team for the rest of the this current school year. Okay. And so, with you here today, I guess we'll go ahead and get started because it would be great to get some feedback for you all in preparation for the meeting on the 26th. And so, the goal of this meeting today is to talk about our strategic plan, which is a critical piece of the overall planning process as we are preparing and entering into our upcoming school year's budgeting season. All decisions made at the school level should be driven by the development of our school-wide strategic plan. And as you know, Dr. Johnson, our superintendent, has developed a 5-year strategic plan for the district as a whole. And so it's my hope as we work as a Go team that as we work to develop our strategic plan, to seek feedback and make sure that we finalize a plan that's in alignment with the needs of our school, but also with that aligns with the needs of the district. So I'm going to go ahead and go through our action items. Since this is a work session, there's no need to approve the agenda in previous minutes, right, Mr. Norvell, because we're not voting on anything, right? Okay.
Yep.
So it's okay to start like at slide 6.
Yeah, and if you've already captured this, feel free to, jump forward as well.
Okay. So as you know, during our last conversations when we were last together, I think in November, we started the conversations around making sure that we were developing our strategic plan, and we looked at the district's strategic plan, which starts from 2025 to 2030. And the overarching theme of the district's strategic plan is around getting back to the basics. And so with that sentiment in mind, we're really talking about how we are strengthening our instructional core. How do we, as a school community, ensure that we're caring for every child? And we want to make sure that we're sparking student curiosity. And then as a Go team, we know that our strength is our team. Our responsibility is shared and collective. And our school, and we want to try to put things in place here at Hollis to make sure that our school-wide systems are efficient and both effective. And so in our initial conversations, we went through our school mission and vision. So I'm not going to touch on that today, but I do want to look at this slide right here, which talks about some proposed goals that will help to drive the overarching strategic plan development and plan finalization for the next 5 years. And so as a school, we already have a school-wide strategic plan, and that is in part of one of the district requirements, but it's also a requirement because as a school, we are on the federally identified list and working to exit that list. And so as we think about our school-wide strategic plan that we will develop together as a Go team, and for today's sessions around getting some feedback from you all, we're looking at goal areas. One proposal is focused on the area of increasing our students' proficiency levels and rates in ELA as measured by a 3% increase each year for our students who take the end of grades assessment on Georgia milestones, increasing their proficiency or higher on the end of grades Georgia milestone assessments over the course of 5 years. So what that essentially means, and Mr. Norvell, correct me if I'm wrong, that Dr. Johnson's vision, I think, is at the end of the 5th year is that we are at like a 20% increase?
Yes, as a district at a 20% increase.
Right. So on our school's annual strategic plan, our current goal is focused on trying to increase student proficiency at a rate of 7%. But when you think about the development of a school-wide strategic plan that would be implemented over a 5-year period, if you think about increasing 7% each year over 5 years, that's a 35% increase. So that goal actually would exceed the goal marker that was set by the superintendent of the district. So with keeping that in mind, looking at our strategic plan and goal setting, I lowered the percentage rate down to 3% because then over a 5-year period, essentially, Hollis will move in a direction to where 15% school-wide by 2030 we would see where our students in grades 3 through 5, well, actually, it would need to be changed to 3 through 8 because we do have students we were K-8 school. 3 through 8 would have an increased level of proficiency for our students in the area of ELA as measured by the end of grades Georgia Milestones assessments. And then that same looking at that same percentage rate and progression over a 5-year period, when you look at your targeted subgroups. And so for us as a school, our targeted subgroups are primarily African American students, Hispanic, and students with disabilities in grades 3 through 8. We will want to keep that same benchmark of 3% each year. So over a 5-year period in the development of the strategic plan, we would say that as a school by 2030, we will see where our students have moved to where 15% of them have shown an increase in overall mastery. What are your thoughts on that for the Go Team members for this work session discussion? Any thoughts around that particular goal area?
I think that's achievable. We should be able to get a 3% gain this year, hopefully, and definitely by 2030. We should
Right,
have
so-
at 15%. I think that's achievable. I think we're heading in the right direction and we're doing the work. So we can.
And then again, you always, I mean, I guess as a school, because again, this is a work session. So when we come back for our next meeting, that will be where, the team talks about the actual voting. So this is where you really share that feedback. Because if there's any feedback, then we can incorporate that now for our next discussion on the 26th. But, again, if we exceed the 15% over that 5-year period, that would be awesome. But I thought, and in conversations with Mr. Norvell, we don't want to probably go above the threshold that the superintendent has set for the entire district. So 7% is an annual goal that's on the current school improvement plan. But when we think about the 5-year strategic plan for Hollis, lowering it to 3% per year would keep us under or within the range that the superintendent has set for the entire district. Were there any other thoughts about that for the area of ELA or any other ideas around that particular goal as being a part of our school-wide strategic plan?
And Dr. Shakir, one thing you can do, you don't need to necessarily set in your strategic plan the annual percentage increase. So you don't need to hold yourself to that 3%. So you can just put what the increase will be by 2030. One thing I would suggest is, I agree that, 7% a year over 5 years, 35% is aggressive. But currently the 15% is lower than the district average. And if the proficiency rate at Hollis is already a little lower than the district average, it may make sense to kind of bring it up to at least that 20 percentage points. Just kind of so it's a little bit more aggressive, but you can always change it as you see each year, we went up a lot and now we're just trying to maintain, or maybe we just went up a little. You can kind of play with it, but you may want to look at making it a little more aggressive to that 20 points, if possible.
And so that would essentially mean that we would say, as a part of our planning, 4% over each year over that 5-year period. Okay, I wrote that down to talk about the next meeting. And so ELA, so that was ELA, and then we were looking at the area of math. So math again is an area that's measured by the integrated assessment, looking at both our all students as well as our subgroups of students who we know that you want to make sure that you keep an eye on. And so as a team and as we work through the feedback for the priority areas, Any thoughts around or any feedback around including math as a particular area of priority for our upcoming strategic plan? What are your thoughts? If any.
What was the question again, Dr. Shakir?
In the development of the strategic plan, we're looking at we have to identify our priority areas. And so math, we just talked about the ELA as a priority area. So looking at math right now, essentially over a 5-year period, we are saying that as a school, student proficiency for both all students as well as subgroup students should reach a mark of at least 15%. But feedback from Mr. Norvell was like, since we're already as a school underperforming a bit, the district has set a goal target of 20%. When we develop this strategic plan, we might want to look at increasing our annual goal marker of 4% over a 5-year period so that we can at least be at the same metric that the district has set by 2030. But my question goes out to the team around having math as a priority area of focus to be included in the strategic plan. And if anybody had any thoughts or suggestions that they would like to share so that we can capture that feedback as we prepare to finalize the strategic plan on our meeting on the 26th.
Oh, I definitely think it should be included. I had a question about the 15%. I do see the 3% every year, and I understand that. But my question was like, could the 15%, like, what if it happened in 3 years, right? Or 2 years? Are we expected to like just maintain that? Or like, could it be 1 year that's down, but the other year, like, is it cumulative where we have to hit 3% every year? Or is it like one? And again, I'm hypothetically speaking. I hope y'all get that. But, could it be if we, don't do well 1 year, but we do extremely well another year, will it still average out? If it still average out to 15%, or does it have to hit a certain mark every year for it to be 15%? That's my question.
So, Mr. Norvell, so when you developed a 5-year plan, that's a good question. What are your thoughts around that? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. No, you don't. It is like a mark to try to achieve by 2030. So we know that sometimes there's ups and downs, and 1 year you may have huge gains, and other years it may feel a little stagnant. That's why we don't put those annual numbers. You would work towards those annual numbers, but it's really what is the goal by 2030 to meet. Now, let's say you're doing awesome, right? Like you saw a 5% gain in year 1 and a 6% in year 2 and a 6% in year 3, and you want to up that goal to kind of keep the pressure on, then like knock yourself out. This is your strategic plan. You can always change those goals based on what you're facing. So yeah, you can change them and you're not held to like a specific annual anything.
Okay.
And then go ahead.
And my other question was, this is 15% in like relation to what, or relative to what, like our 2023 scores? Like, what is this 15% in comparison to, if you get what I'm saying?
So one of the things is that we're going to have to take out the 3%. And so the goal's going to have, when the final strategic plan is written, the goal shouldn't be written to where it's like 3% each year, because I guess that kind of lends itself to being cumulative. So you want to keep increasing 3%. So if I'm correct in my thinking, if we're saying that as a school by 2030, 15% of students who are taking an end of grades assessment, whether it be the Georgia milestones or if state changes, whatever the end of year assessment would be, in the year 2030, the goal marker of the success of the strategic plan, would it be in that one particular year, Mr. Norvell, or would it be like, say next year you made your 3%, and then that following year you might have dipped a little bit, then that subsequent year you went up 7%. Like, what's the marker, I guess, too?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, the mark there. So there's 2 markers. The base marker is the 2025 milestones. So it's looking at how your kids finished at the end of May. I did just put a
of this school year, correct, or last school year? Because this would be
last school year. Last school year. So this will be the first year of your like 5 years. So the end of 2025, where we got those scores, I think last fall, the milestone scores, that's kind of the baseline. So you're going to try to increase by 20 points or 15 or whatever y'all decide from that number. The annual number doesn't, as it relates to your strategic plan and kind of governance, doesn't matter. I mean, you should have conversations about are things working and are we on track? But that will fluctuate, and you don't need to figure out what that fluctuation looks like. It's really what is that thing by 2030 that we want to get to.
Okay. A while back, we spoke of APS's goal was 20%. Are we trying to, or do we need to adjust our strategic plan to be in align with that? Because if that's the case, then we need to be trying to shoot for more than 3% a year.
Yes, ma'am. That was what the conversation was. That kind of I shared a little bit was about. Y'all may want to look at going to that 20% over to 2030, so it averages out at 4% a year. But yeah, to kind of meet the district goal as well. So, for example, third grade, this is written for third through eighth grade, so it's going to be a different number. But the one that's in front of me right now is third grade literacy is from 2025 is 18.5% proficient. So this would say that our goal by 2030 is to gain 20 points so that we would be 38.5% proficient.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts around that marker annually, striving towards, I guess, 20% within over a 5-year period, or any other factors or considerations related to that goal that anybody would like to contribute during this work session that we would want to kind of make sure we're bringing to the Go Team during the voting session on the 26th?
Do we have to make a decision on this? Because I was going to say, can we see what type of gains we made this year just to give our baseline?
So we come back,
like you said,
we can bring up the on the meeting on the 26th. We can actually pull up the Georgia Milestones data, and we can even look at the data across the school for the elementary and the middle school. And so no decisions are happening today because today's a work session. And so, but that can be good opportunity, as well as, if you like, if you go to the state, you can just, if you go to Google, you can Google CCRPI report card. And prior to us coming back on the 26th, and you can go out there because the data is public now. You can go out there and you can actually look at the proficiency rates from last year's milestones assessments. That's available for you to review, but we can definitely bring it up during the next meeting. And that document for these key performance indicators on this link, if you click on that actually lists out where we are. So, like, for example, I'm pulling up that data. So when we look at our math proficiency, let's see. Where it says current key performance indicator, Trev, that's our scores. Is that our
Yes, that's your score for this is the Hollis specific page. So it shows that eighth grade students proficient and above are at 29.2% in math. And so a 20-point increase would be 49.2% if you did 20 points. And I believe it was Ms. Baker who was asking, we want to go ahead and set a 2030 goal before seeing what happens this year, because you're not going to get this year's data. They're going to take it in May, April. They're not going to get it till next fall. And so you can always adjust along the way, but you want to go ahead and pick where you want to be by 2030, regardless of this 1 year. But throughout the year, Dr. Shakir can share, hey, how are we doing on our MAP assessments? Are we seeing progress? Do we project or expect to do better on the milestones than what our goals are? So those are conversations that can happen as well throughout the year.
Any other questions about, our 5-year projection around, looking at the increase? And the good thing about the data, the link that, and we talked about this before in some of the other sessions, it does show the current proficiency rating. So when we look at our ELA, just going back to that for a second, currently when we look at our third grade students, which is the achievement year for most students, our data shows that right now only 18% of all of our third grade students met proficiency. So essentially by 2030, we want to strive to get school wide, it should be at least at 39% of the third grade students. Of course, you want more, but minimally, we want to try to make sure at least 39% of third grade students are proficient.
And on this KPI summary, are these the only metrics we are looking at as far as in relation to the strategic plan? Like I
No,
see,
ma'am, this is a good, we use two different starting points for looking at goals. The first one is kind of the top half of the slide in front of you. That's Hollis's continuous improvement
okay.
plan.
Uh-huh.
That's kind of like, hey, here's what we're currently working on this year. The second thing is the KPI document that I put in there. You may look at it, and this is where particularly goals 3, and if you want to add an extra goal like a goal 4, this document could be helpful because you could look at it and say, oh, wow, we are way below the district average in this area. Like that needs to be a focus. And so you can always add a goal outside of either what's on this paper, and we can play with what's on this document. This just helps guide the conversation so it's not too overwhelming.
And so, like for example, I guess, and so when we're looking at on the strategic plan goal, so if we look at the goal area 3, which is related to student attendance and looking at school-wide behaviors. So looking at the current KPI indicator, so when we look at our attendance, currently 46% is the current KPI. And so with over the 5-year projection, we're looking at trying to increase that by 15 percentage points so that by 2030, we're at 61.6. So I can tell you now, because I just did a meeting with the state for our report out, when we're looking at attendance as of today, if we were to be measured by the state metrics, based off of some of the structures and things that I put in place this year with our whole child team, we are already today at 61%. So we've already kind of we would have met that goal essentially over that, what the district proposes is that 5-year incremental increase. Today, we would have already met that goal because we're at 61% today, if that makes sense. So when we think about our attendance goal and thinking about our strategic plan, I guess the conversation piece would be with the Go team would be around, do we still want to focus on the attendance piece, or is there another piece around, the whole child that should be embedded as a part of the overarching strategic plan for the school? Am I saying that right, Travis? Am I going in the right direction or?
Yeah. So for this goal, generally schools will do a ELA goal. That's that first one that you'll have. They'll do a math goal. That's the second one. They'll do something around whole child. So it could be attendance, it could be behavior, it could be belonging, something like that. So a lot start with attendance first because kind of a lot of things roll up to attendance and behavior. So those are two good places to start with it. And I mean, this is where changing the actual number is, supported throughout the strategic plan process. Attendance may remain a goal and you may meet it the first year. That's great. But then how do we maintain it in years 2, 3, 4, 5, or continue to increase? So, yeah.
And or is this something that the team feels should be a part of the 5-year strategic plan too, right?
Yeah. Should attendance do you believe that attendance should be one of your goals to guide your strategic plan? And if it's yes, then it's agreeing on, the number itself. Are we good with a 10% increase or 15%, whatever?
Any thoughts or feedback from anybody?
Yes, it needs to be included, attendance and math.
Yep.
Because I was looking too. So I was wondering. So an additional subset indicator on the KPI for Hollis talks about student staff relationships, specifically honing in on the indicator around the percentage of students feeling comfortable um, with staff in the building or feeling like they have a trusted individual that they can come to, which when we think about strategic planning, would that be an area of consideration that the school may want to consider for the strategic plan? Because, and I'm just thinking out loud, because if students feel comfortable with staff in the building or feel like they are building that appropriate relationship with staff, then would that naturally lend itself to seeing the increase in student attendance over the course of time? Or does the Go team feel that the focus really should we continue the focus, which has already been in place in the previous strategic plan, around the aspects of putting systems in place, specifically targeting students related to overarching attendance as a whole? So what that would mean is that, our current practices that we have in place, the whole child team meeting. One shift we made this year, just giving you some additional context for those who are outside the scope of what happens with that particular team. One thing that at the beginning of the year, we started on a 2-week frequency cycle. I was looking at monitoring data. We saw where there were some loops and gaps in that process. I pulled the team together. We're now on a weekly meeting cycle. So we were able to capture more kids, establishing a process to where members of that team are targeting and tagging specific kids so that we have a greater chance of catching kids who fall within the realm of being chronically absent or who are looking to exceed that 10% threshold much sooner in the year versus later in the year. So these are just some consideration points when I just look at overarching, because when we drill down on attendance last year, discipline is also a factor as a part of that, because when we look at our students who were percent of students that experienced out of school so the percent of students without suspensions was 84%. So that actually was pretty good. So do we want to look at discipline data? Do we think that discipline is a subset factor lending itself to the overarching attendance practices happening school-wide at Hollis that drives, our overall school performance in the area of readiness? So, any thoughts around that as we think through what is the most important thing that the school should consider in the development of that strategic plan?
That's a really great question. I think I'm like torn between the two because both are great. I do love the idea of the staff though. I think I'm more leaning towards relationships.
Mhm.
But I'm open to what the team thinks. So I'm still like torn between the two though.
Okay.
I really feel like if we cure that attendance issue, the rest of it will cure itself. And it's hard to build relationships with teachers if they're not coming. So, we have to kind of work on that. I feel it does need to be included in the strategic plan. I do like the systems that we have set up now. I'm often in the pods when they do the celebrations and everything, and the kids are, and I'm kind of in their ear, like, you got to make sure you come every day. Like we're all on board
Right.
for the attendance initiatives that have been put in place this year. And
Okay.
they're working with the students. I mean, I see them get excited when they know they're about to
Mhm.
get their little bag of chips or whatever they get.
Mhm. Yes, yes. And Miss Scott, we love Miss Scott because I know firsthand she's up to midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning preparing for the taco bars each month. And
Yes,
a
yes,
lot of
and they
time,
love it. They
but
love it.
we've seen that increase. And one of the things that was interesting is that, again, we started meeting bi-weekly, but we switched to weekly meetings. So we were able to see immediately coming back in January that we saw a slight dip in the number of our MVPs for attendance because we were trying to figure out and drill down as to what was happening the latter part of December as to why we had that slight dip. But I equate that to the more frequent meetings allows the team to catch it sooner versus than later because we're always monitoring that. Now, again, one consideration for the team to consider too is when you're developing your strategic plan, yes, we can look at having attendance as the overarching thing, but when we think about our objectives or driving factors or subsets of things that we want to do that's going to help to increase overall school-wide attendance, we can continue the work if the team so decides around the attendance initiatives. But you can also add a second objective that would be specific around what additional work or systems over a 5-year period can Hollis put in place that's going to strengthen the student to staff relationships piece. So that way that would be an additional element or aspect of the work that would lie ahead from 25 to 2030 to make sure that we are adding these things or these initiatives so we can kind of measure and see how that helps to support increasing or maintaining a higher rate of attendance for the school-wide. Is that right, Travis?
Yes, sir. So I think that's a good kind of compromise to get what people are saying is you'll measure the outcome, right? The end goal is students attending school, and maybe behavior referrals going down, like it says on this sheet. And the work that you're doing to do that would be your attendance initiatives, a focus on student staff relationships, things like that. We'll put that into the work itself, but you'll know whether you're successful with that work based on kids coming to school and behaving when they're at school.
Okay.
Now, so let me ask if we're good on those three. For those who can see the drill down dashboard, and even if you can't, are there areas or measures, indicators that you think rise to the level of this kind of the top level of the strategic plan to help define our success? That we should include as a potential fourth goal. And so think of, let's see, some schools have done things in the staff space. So whether that's engaged staff or kind of a measure related to teachers. Some people, it's more about some of the safety issues or challenges that they want to focus on. Some it may be participation in certain coursework or whatnot. So if there's anything on top of these three things, and it doesn't have to be, you can just end it with 3 goals. But if there is something, what would you add or what would you recommend? And if your mic, I know someone was having a challenge with their mic, so you can also put in the chat as well. Ms. Baker, did you jump off mute?
Yeah, I'm trying to get back to my KPI page, but is there something, can we add some type of verbiage in there about parental involvement?
Okay.
Yeah, there is a current measure on there on that family engagement. There's 2, but one is on the family engagement survey where it's asking if basically are we supporting student success, kind of favorable response to family supporting their student success. Right now, y'all are at 78% in that. So you could do a qualitative measure from our survey, or you could do, infinite campus access or something that has more of a specific data point.
Okay.
Right.
Is that a focus for Hollis right now, increasing family engagement? And if so, what does that look like?
I think it's a focus that falls within the natural realm of just, everyday school operations. You want to try to do things to try to increase the family engagement. We have, we do have Mother Moore as a part of our school community. So with increasing family engagement, she has really launched a school-wide initiative for the PTA. So she's doing a lot of work in that area trying to engage more families with the PTA. But, again, that takes time to kind of build that traction and momentum, even though she does have, quite a few families coming in. And as a school, we've set a specific time the last Tuesday of every month where we actually dedicate time for our families to come so that they can have the PTA meetings. So I foresee that parental involvement is going to naturally increase over a period of time. We do have a parent liaison, and so I have been in conversations with her this year, and meeting with her, showing her some data points specific to her roles to make sure that she kind of understands the alignment of the efforts that she would particularly do to try to increase parental involvement. But at the start of the year, she was brought on part-time, and so she got converted full-time towards the end of the first semester. So now we're looking at this semester really to kind of gauge the effectiveness of some of the programs and opportunities, because I wasn't even able to get my parent newsletter out until November, December. So ideally, going into the next school year, you want to have that community. It's family engagement to me is really it's two-way. So the school has to make sure that they are sometimes over communicating things so that the families are aware and feel welcome and want to embrace and engage with the school. So I do know that when we think about family engagement, we got to think about what are some pre-planned activities, or what would that calendar look like, to make sure that we are providing our families with multiple opportunities so that they can have access to the school, if that makes sense. And I'm just kind of saying that out loud for the team as a whole when you think about that particular goal area, if that's the right frame of thought, Travis.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is, as y'all are talking, I'm also going ahead and going into the next activity, which is putting down the work of the strategic plan, the objectives.
Right.
So yeah, you could have a family engagement goal related to response. You can kind of see I added just a little something right there. Response rate on the family engagement survey. And then the strategy, the objective would be about, creating and inviting, et cetera, space for families to engage, creating a fully functioning PTA. Those are all things that would be the work behind it.
Okay.
Is there, oftentimes on goal 4, you go one of two directions. You either go kind of a family direction or like a staff direction. Are we in agreement that family would be a good direction for Hollis to head on that goal? Not again, you don't have to, this isn't about approval, but just kind of to set ourselves up.
I think it needs to go towards family, because I've always gotten a pretty good response from parents. If I have to call home or, have a conversation with a family member, they're always very supportive of their kids. And I can't speak for everybody, but I've always gotten a good response, and they always have, questions, and we chat back and forth. I do feel like if we provide, more opportunities for them to be involved, that would also cure some of our situations, because they'll feel like, they have a relationship with someone in the building.
Awesome. All right. Well, I can help Dr. Shakir work on some language for that goal.
Okay, that'd be great.
You want me to move to the objectives?
Yes, please.
All right. So can you jump down to slide 15?
15? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what we'll do is, so instead of, sometimes when I do this, we'll look at the strategic plan, your old strategic plan first, and then see, hey, what should we move over? But I want to kind of start almost blank page-ish. And so I've already put some stuff down. So basically, it could be anything. Don't try to fit it into a certain box or about a certain goal. For us to achieve the goals that we've just outlined, what must we do? So what are some things we must do at Hollis to achieve those goals? I already put down some stuff that came up. Attendance initiative, student staff relationships, multiple opportunities for families to come in. What are some other things? Think across the board that you're either doing or you should be doing to achieve these goals.
For the attendance initiative, I think we need to continue the attendance celebrations, the I guess it's MVP
Mhm.
celebrations. They do those monthly because
Yeah,
they love those.
awesome. Yeah, and it can be beyond these bullets. So it could be think professional learning, think curriculum, think um, student engagement, anything that you think would be needed to achieve these goals.
I was trying to type it out, but it's taking a while. So for
Don't worry about it.
math and ELA, I was thinking that a great thing could be and I don't know how feasible this is, so I would love y'all feedback, but maybe every report card, not or even progress report, anybody who has an A or above in math and ELA, like we kind of celebrate that with a certificate, something small. It doesn't even have to be expensive. But just celebrating, students who yeah, there you go, student success. And if it's not report cards, what about like having a huge celebration or a huge celebration? So this might be expensive, but for like those who are on grade level for the iReady diagnostic or MAP, kind of like, getting them excited about like and kind of heightening it as we head into that season. Like, so if we know MAP is coming up, maybe 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before, we say, hey, it's a celebration for anybody who gets on grade level. Just things like that. I think could get the kids more interested to even achieve the goals that we have for them. And of course, student conferences. Um, maybe setting a date to have student conferences about where they are.
Awesome. Great feedback.
For attendance, I was thinking maybe if we always celebrate our students for coming, but we never really do anything for our parents for bringing them. So it may be nice to do like a raffle or a gas card or something for parents. Like you can kind of put some rules with it. If come to school 25 days this month or 20 days this month, your name goes in a hat for, gas card or something like that. And
Yeah,
that may be an incentive for them as well, as opposed to just for the kids.
awesome. Thank you. Think about, because I think most of you may be staff, I'm not quite sure, but think about during the school day. What do you do? PLCs? Do you do data meetings? Should there be certain types of professional learning, certain type of curriculum, things that you've started this year that you want to keep going? Yes, Ms. Kramer.
Curriculum is probably a huge thing. I can't speak for ELA, so I'm just going to throw that out there. But a lot of them are not fans of HMH. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Shakir. That's not my lane. But just and even if the teachers don't like, because it's not about what they like, but like I guess effective training on the curriculum and effective monitoring of the curriculum, like making sure that all teachers understand, and if something is ineffective, like what is our, I guess, response to that. And I can speak for this as far as math. I would love an actual curriculum because right now we're using Georgia DOE, and those lessons are cool, but not sure if something else may be better for our students for math specifically, because we technically don't have a curriculum.
Got it. Yeah.
So Travis, I do think that there was a good point raised in the conversation around the aspect I was making notes around with professional learning, deepening teacher practice through with pedagogy, continuing to strengthen those opportunities for teachers. And then when we talk about the new math curriculum, so I think that's good because of course the standard is the curriculum from the state. So making sure we pairing a sufficient math resource that would allow the teachers to begin to extend and deepen their knowledge around the implementation of the curricular resource so that that kind of moves our kids towards student mastery. And I think a lot of that just lends itself to the conversation piece of just continuing being able to provide teachers with deep coaching opportunities. That side by side piece of just making sure that teachers are equipped with that professional knowledge piece of how to take the theory and put it into practice. So I think that was an excellent point that was raised.
I had a idea for staff relationships. We could, I know you're still typing, I'm sorry.
Now keep going. I type while I'm listening.
Okay. For student staff relationships, maybe we could set up like a mentor mentee type situation with staff. And if, staff members could select at least one or two students to kind of be mentors to throughout the year. And we can kind of set up, maybe a breakfast or, they do like weekly check-ins with their mentor, little passes to just kind of, all hands on deck type situation. I think that might help. And we can work with counselors and our behavior specialists to kind of identify those students that kind of need a mentor, kind of need a helping hand.
Yep. And so just to kind of walk you through the strategic plan process and the different levels. So I'm putting all these notes down. Some will rise to what's called an objective level. That's what we are guided by governance wise. So think about improving staff, leveraging student staff relationships to build a sense of belonging or something like that. That would be an objective. Then once we get down after we approve kind of that level, then the administration, the team at Hollis will start identifying, okay, so now what's the work underneath that using some of these ideas? Okay, a mentor program, incentives, those things that kind of will then get into the what we do to achieve that. So these are all good.
I did want to add to the PLC thing. I think one thing that we may benefit from, I haven't seen it, so I don't know how well it doesn't work. But maybe kind of having classrooms recorded by teachers themselves and having them give themselves feedback as well. I think that's a great opportunity for because sometimes like saying that Miss Fambro, I'm just using myself to be, safe. Saying that Miss Fambro took too long on her work period, they may not understand it, or like they may think that it's not true, and if they see it, the self-reflection, I love that phrase, yes, may have a better impact on teacher performance, just my opinion. And again, them doing it on their own.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I presented to the board on Monday and I don't want to watch myself, but I know that I should watch myself so I can do better next time. But
Yeah,
that
I'm
does
the
take
same way.
it takes something to do that.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Can you go Dr. Shakira, slide 17. All right, so this will be a little small to read, but this is your current strategic plan that we're going to we're freshening up right now. So we've freshened up the SMART goals up at the top. We're working on that. You gave me some good ideas that will fit into what's called objectives, but you have them as, we used to call them priorities. And so let's now look at what y'all used to do, not used to do, but what's in your old strategic plan and see what are some of these things that you want to make sure get moved over to the new one. So let's start with that academic piece. Focus on reading and math performance for students with disabilities or exceptional education. Focus on reading and math for all students and develop a literacy and math culture. Are some of those things things that you want to continue on with the next plan?
I think that needs to stay.
So, okay. Um, okay. Any other feedback on that academic bucket?
Since we
What?
have math and ELA in it, I was under the assumption that number two is kind of already implied on
Yeah.
the other one, if I'm not mistaken. And it's kind of hard to see. But I guess number three is kind of implied as well, as far as under the academic thing. Number one, I don't recall DSC being mentioned on there, but I would assume they're included in the 15% goal, right?
Yeah. And it may
Okay.
be, so this is kind of like, think about the big buckets of work to achieve that goal. And you already gave me some. So um, let's see. A literacy in math, that would be me asking kind of what is a literacy in math culture, right? Um, or um, when we say focus, usually I like the objectives to have a little bit more meat on it. So like what does that mean, focus? And I think you gave some good ideas, particularly on the teacher side. The curriculum, student conferences, deepening teacher practice, coaching, observations. There's a lot of space there for us to build from. Um, you would want to call out a subgroup if you're going to do something different for them than everybody else. So if there's a different set of strategies or a different body of work for students with disabilities, then it's sometimes helpful to call them out in an objective, in a priority. Let's jump to the wraparound services to increase attendance and access to mental health support. We talked a little bit about attendance and that incentives piece and student staff relationship piece. Um, is there still a focus, a goal, a need on this wraparound support? The counselors, social workers, MTSS, partners, those things.
Yes, there's still a need.
I thought it was a softball, but then y'all concerned me without responding. But yes, okay. Uh, so that's something we can continue. But this is something you want to think about on have you had specific success in different parts of wraparound? Have you had success in the social work side, in the partner side, or is it more of an all hands on deck approach? On let's jump to staff. I think you gave some good stuff on professional learning. What are some what are some areas for staff to that get to their growth, that get to their engagement, that gets to their retention? What are some things that we should really be focused on for the Hollis staff?
I think our staff needs support. Um, and that can look a lot of ways. I mean, discipline support, academic support for students. But I think that's a general need for our staff because they are, they're doing the work every day. So, it's always easier when you have that support, that outside of the classroom support.
Gotcha. So it ends up being student support outside the classroom. So support for your students, whether it's discipline or academic or other ways.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Ms. Pambro or Alexander or Scott, anything that stands out on the teacher side or staff side? Apologies.
I definitely like the improved leadership opportunities. I think a lot of teachers may, I'm not for certain, but I'm pretty sure it would benefit just to have some opportunity to kind of maybe I love the PLC. I think we just talked about it as far as, what do things look like. I think allowing teachers or whoever to lead a PLC that's outside of the instructional leadership team. So I guess that kind of helps 5 and 6, right? Like, because you'll be able to retain the top performing staff if they're able to kind of, show their expertise and grow as leaders. I think that's a great opportunity, just to make people feel valued, right? Like, oh, I am doing great. You told me I'm doing great. And I'm also given this opportunity to facilitate a PLC. I think that would be a great opportunity for some teachers for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, great example. Right. There's plenty of ways to express or improve, provide leadership opportunities within the school itself. So yeah. What about, we talked family engagement a little bit. What about partners? How is Hollis with partners, whether it's community partners, corporate partners, faith-based partners? How are y'all currently? What should the focus be? How can they help you?
I believe we have a partnership with Mercedes-Benz, I think. I don't really know all the names, but I would love for the AUC to be a little more involved if they're not already. Because we could use a lot of tutoring, a lot more if they're willing. I know they come here, some young ladies from Spelman, I think they come. I think we even have some from Georgia Tech, but it would definitely benefit upper grades, if not elementary, to have some tutors and actually tutoring what they're learning and not like what they missed, right? So not like the remediation tutors, but like the actual grade level content, having a collaboration with Spelman, Morehouse, and Clark. And especially those that are in the education program, right? I think that's a great opportunity for our students to see younger people. You know how they go. So yeah.
Awesome. Yep. Got it. And I see Ms. Scott on the kind of current support on some of those attendance initiatives, academics, climate, culture. Yeah. And then the last kind of area that sometimes comes up is related to like operations. So think your building, think transportation, think your schedule, technology, nutrition. Any of those areas particularly stand out as a focus area for you all, or that you would want to focus on? Busing system. And I know you're typing, so it may take a second, but let me know kind of what that means your busing system needs addressed. Is it that your buses are just not on time? Is it like students on the bus? Is it behavior? Is it a survey may help identify what those things are? Yeah, Miss Alexander.
So one thing, I don't know how much control we have over this. I'm also a parent for a scholar at Hollis, and I apologize. I didn't know I was allowed to talk. I thought I had to be voted on. However, I guess more alternatives for the scholars at lunch. There are a lot of kids who don't eat. They just throw their trays away. And maybe we can kind of like do a survey and find foods that they will actually want to eat. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Makes perfect sense. I know our nutrition team does those things. I think they just had one recently to get feedback on the recipe, on their like new ideas. But yeah, addressing it specific to Hollis to ensure that kids are eating.
So do they have a target elementary team or like a target middle school team? And is it done by cluster, or is it done just like who are they targeting for this survey?
Yeah, great question. I don't know, but I can dive into it and get more information on it. And they may be able to even pull out, right? It's 2 data points. One is the percent of students who are participating in school breakfast and lunch. But just because I'm participating doesn't mean I'm eating school breakfast and lunch, which is a more difficult number to get at.
Yeah, I think it's the lunch component because I see the kids eating the breakfast, but I
Got
do
it.
see kids get trays and just dump them.
Yeah.
And so their
I'm also,
response
yeah,
is they don't like it.
yeah.
So
I'm also a parent of three in
yeah.
the system, and one definitely is like, well, I have to put it on my tray, but I know I'm not going to eat it. And so, some of those things.
And so another thing to go back to, and I'm sorry if this is out of character or if this is out of the norm, when you guys were talking about teachers and how to motivate and the more incentives, maybe we can have like raffles for the teachers too and grade level competitions. So that would kind of put more of a emphasis, even though each grade level has their own demands, just maybe just like put something towards attendance. Third grade had the highest attendance, so you guys are
Yeah.
going for the teachers too.
Yeah. Got it. Makes sense.
And then just like even with growth, whichever grade level, and I know that we're going to be doing this with iReady, but just I guess like an incentive for the teacher too.
Yep. Received. Right. It's a shared partnership, this work, right? Teachers, families, students, staff, partners, community. And so how do we incentivize all parts of that all wheel to when there is success? Okay. Is there anything else that we have not mentioned today that you believe that Hollis should be doing in order to achieve these goals? Is there anything that we're missing from a kind of a strategic level on what should be going on?
I think we are trending in the right direction, but we just need to make sure that all stakeholders are actually invested in that they're all involved. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if this is part of the objective piece, but I think we need to um, do a better job at listening to our staff and what their needs are. I feel like a lot of meetings are just, the information is flowing in one direction. And this is what we need you to do, and this is how you do it, and then now go do it. But sometimes we need to kind of take a break and just allow, kind of some back and forth so that, because teachers are the ones working directly with the children. So they know best what's going to work and what's not going to work. Everybody will try things and implement what they're being asked to implement. But we also need to do a better job of just collecting that feedback from staff.
Received. Yep. Side plug for those staff, make sure you take your employee engagement survey. That will also help paint a picture of kind of where y'all are and where some focus can be. All right. Let's see, Dr. Shakir, go to, with just kind of looking at time, go to slide 19, and I'll show you kind of what I'm going to help with next. So this top part right here, the getting back to basics and community of believers, that's like the frame of the district's strategic plan. And it's kind of divided into 6 focus areas: the core, care, and curiosity on one side, and the kind of our team, shared responsibility, efficiency at the school on the other side. What I'm going to do as my next step is I'm going to take a lot of that. You can see I've already copied from that last slide here, a lot of your feedback. I'm going to start grouping some of these things and proposing some wording for the objectives underneath each bucket. So, for example, caring for every child, we'd probably put something related to your attendance focus there. And I won't get rid of the ideas as well, but we'll probably have it at a higher level about attendance. And maybe it's, something related to all stakeholders play a part in improving attendance. And so that would be in Care for Every Child. Or something like Our Strength is Our Team, the comment that was just provided about two-way communication and input and feedback, that could be in there about, ensuring productive dialogue among, staff. Or there was the one about leadership opportunity. So leveraging, our own staff to lead and deliver, strategies, etc. Let's see, our school is efficient, effective. That's where we could put transportation. That's where we could put nutrition. Responsibility shared is a lot of the partner stuff and the family engagement. One area that I think may not be captured as much is this student curiosity bucket. So I see stuff for almost every bucket but that one. So student curiosity gets to what makes students excited to come to school, what offerings, what excites them, what and prepares them for their future. Think workforce readiness, their passions, their interests. Is there anything that Hollis is doing that kind of lives in that world that we would want to continue to focus on or maybe start to focus on?
One thing I know, arts, like the dance team and stuff like that, is one of the passions I can truly say firsthand that my daughter is actually excited about those days of school because she has something that she's interested in and it's her outlet outside of the traditional day. So I think of like more programs for the kids to get involved in. I know we are focusing on growth in reading and math, but also stuff outside of that, like maybe if they knew that on Wednesdays they had a certain club or they had a certain program that they would be more willing to come, and that would increase our attendance too. So it's like a win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. Our superintendent likes to talk a lot about, if it wasn't for sports, then his kid would not be even at school. That's the only reason he goes to school. And so I think that's why it was an important area to be included in here. Are there any pathways that y'all focus on? I'm thinking career pathways that are a focus that we need to make sure are in here, or yeah.
I know that Dr. Shakira did mention that we are getting pathways and that it's going to start, the implementation is supposed to start next school year. And so, like, I'm always going to be an avid for the arts pathways too.
So, Dr. Shakira, is there have
So
y'all finalized pathways yet, or no?
No, what Ms. Alexander is referencing is that in its current state, and you look at the school-wide master schedule and you look at pathway opportunities, out of all of the students in the middle school, there's only one student in the school that is able to take an advanced or accelerated course. So as I'm working with my team now around the development of the master schedule for next year and beyond, we are going to be intentional with building in those pathway opportunities so that students have access to taking those advanced courses through ABA, which start in 7th grade, as well as being able to take the advanced foreign language courses so that when students leave here, that they're able to go into high school and they have the opportunity to have already earned some high school credit. And then also as an additional pathway opportunity to help strengthen the instructional core, we're looking at implementing AVID, as a part of the expanded connections program next year, so that students are able to get those opportunities so that when they are going to high school, and as you look at this, the district-wide data of students who are graduating high school, and the proficiency rates of those students, we try to catch some of those students in the middle schools, in upper elementary, to try to close some of those gaps or afford them those opportunities, so that you do have more students that are able to do that dual college enrollment. You do have more students that are able to take those advanced and accelerated programs similarly to other students that reside in other clusters within the same school district. So, and a part of that just lies in that overarching development of the master schedule that is focused and intentional on making sure that, as of right now, at Hollis today, our sixth, seventh, and eighth grade students, we do not have a course progression program, a course progression schedule in place for them. So that's what my team is working on. And we're fleshing through how to make sure that we have that moving forward. If the kid leaves Hollis, goes to Sutton, Howard, Long, wherever, that they get that same level of opportunity, if that makes sense.
Yep, that makes sense. So is expanded connections, is that specific to like the schedule itself? Or when you said part of the expanded connections, what does that mean?
So being able to make sure that you're the middle school kids, because really the master schedule is driven based off of an elementary concept. And so the kids in sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, they really don't have the same types of connections that you would see in a traditional middle school. So, in looking at that, you want to make sure that you're shoring up the master schedule here for the students that are going through sixth, seventh, and eighth, that their schedules are that match and mirror what they would see in a traditional middle school setting. And then it would also allow for our specials and connections teachers here. It frees up more opportunity for them to have planning opportunities, because, and Ms. Baker, she happens to be an art teacher, so she can probably affirm or say that this is not true. It gives some of her time is limited because of that overlap between the elementary space and the middle school space. So we've got to fix our school-wide master schedule and offer more opportunities for our kids to have selections for the connections classes that would give them, opportunities to have advanced credit, things of that nature. Is that right, Ms. Baker? Or am I incorrect?
She text amen in the chat.
I'll take a chat amen. So that's great. So for example, like if we were to follow that line, in this strategic objective, the strategic objective may be around expanding opportunities for students to have access to accelerated coursework, pathways, and et cetera. Then when it gets down into the strategies, like, okay, Dr. Shakir, okay, leadership team, how are you going to do that? Well, here's how we're going to do it. We're going to do it through reworking the master schedule by offering and making more people aware of AVA opportunities, by et cetera, et cetera. That's how the strategic plan will kind of build out. Okay. So next steps for me and for you all is I'm going to take this and I'm going to draft, based on this feedback, some potential strategic objectives into each one of these focus areas. You only really want one or two in each area. You don't want to kind of go overboard and try to do all the things. So I may have options, I may combine, we'll see kind of how it works out. I'm going to try to do that, tomorrow, if I can. And then maybe Dr. Shakir,
yes,
if
sir,
you don't mind reviewing first and then sharing with the full Go team as soon as you feel comfortable, we're at a good space to get feedback, so that on the next Go team meeting on the 26th, and even beforehand, if there's feedback, that is tight for the 26th.
Okay, yeah, no, that's a go.
And then what the next step will be, for those of you on the 26th, number one, approve the strategic plan. So that the strategic plan is basically the objectives and those goals. And then you're going to need to rank the objectives. because before you try to figure out how much money we're spending and the budget and everything, you're really going to want to prioritize, okay, of all these things, what is the most important thing for us to do? So you're going to rank those. So you'll approve the plan, then you're going to rank the objectives so that Dr. Shakir can come in his February meeting with saying, all right, here's what the budget looks like for next year. Here's how I'm divvying up the money based on what y'all prioritize. And know that not everything's equal, right? An attendance incentive doesn't have to be a high cost thing, but teachers, personnel make up our biggest bucket. So there's going to be some give and take with it, but that'll be your work over the next 2 meetings. Are there any questions, Dr. Shakir, or the rest of the team?
This is great. Thank you. No, this is good.
Okay. So I'll get that to you. My goal is going to be tomorrow to get you something to react to.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you so much. And then I'll get with you, Ms. Baker, so that we can get the agenda out and post it for the 26th. I'll get with you before that date so we make sure it's publicly noticed in time, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Well, thank you to everyone.
Thanks, y'all.